networking opportunity for all of you as well. So hopefully you might have picked little bits from people who you might want to talk to this morning. So there's a break coming up, and afterwards there'll be time to talk. So please do use the opportunity to do that as well. So the common theme then is most of you have got, well, you've all got websites. Obviously they've been an investment. They're not cheap websites to build them properly. So the common theme obviously is making sure that they work, making sure that you're attracting the right people to your website so that you can drive business and hopefully upsell and increase your sales. So that's good. Social media wise, we will be covering it this morning a little bit, but we have actually got another workshop coming up on the 6th of October, again arranged through Annabella and Joan, which will go into much more detail in social media. So by all means, if you haven't, if you don't get quite enough on social media today, then please do think about booking onto that workshop as well. So digital marketing sounds like a bit of a black art. It isn't. It's actually a logical process of applying digital marketing methods to achieve what you want to achieve from it. So basically, establish what works for you and your business to drive new leads to the business. Obviously, open up new sales opportunities and enhance your existing ones. Digital marketing can drive new business, but also it endorses you as a company. So people who you're already dealing with might expect to see you around the internet. So for example, if you were looking for a new telephone system and you key telephone system into Google, BT will probably appear at the top. You don't need to use a search technique to find BT because you know about them, but you would expect them as market leaders to be at the top. So using digital marketing is a really good way, as I say, of not just driving new business, but also endorsing your presence and your capabilities to your current clients. The B word, Brexit, from our perspective, it's very important to us that companies future-proof themselves against Brexit. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. So to get a good digital marketing strategy in place now can only do you good, really, in terms of the future with the uncertainty of Brexit. So basically, very simply, what we're looking at today is to connect you with people who are looking for your products and services on the internet. Right now, somebody is keying in your keywords into Google. So the question is, are you coming up? Or if not, are your competition coming up? So we're looking at that in terms of connecting you. Obviously converting them into customers and driving sales. The surprising thing with a lot of companies we work with is the new markets that they attract that they weren't expecting to. So just the very nature of online marketing can lead you into directions that you weren't really expecting to go down. So that's another interesting facet that we might be looking at a little bit later. We'll go into this in more detail, but a little bit later on. But basically, we look at a website in terms of a funnel, so what you're putting into the top of the funnel in terms of marketing techniques, and what you're getting out of the bottom of the funnel in terms of your revenue. So we will be focusing on that quite heavily during the presentation. So our agenda for today, we're going to spend a little bit of time just explaining about ourselves, just so that you know who we are and why we are, or why we feel we are able to talk to you. So we'll cover that off. We'll be looking at the growth strategy for your business. How does your website reflect your business? How to drive traffic to your best products, and also your margins, which is another facet that you might not have really thought about, but we'll be looking at that to make sure you get enough return on your investment. We'll be looking at the all-important measuring, because somebody mentioned here about measuring the results from their activity, so we'll be looking at how to test and measure and also repeat the success of your results. How to deliver margin, and also we'll be looking very briefly at what funding might be available for your company. We'd like it to be an interactive workshop, so we want you to get the most from it. So please feel free at any point to interrupt us or ask any questions. Go on.
Will the slides or notes be supplied during or digitally afterwards?
Good question. Could I come back to you on that?
Same as taking notes.
Yeah, sure. Oh, okay.
Manically.
Should be okay.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
Great.
Asking me now. But no, seriously, do feel free to interrupt, because we might know what we're talking about, but it might not mean enough to you. So if you don't understand what we're saying, then please feel free to interrupt. Excuse me. So our business, we were formed in 1996. We're 21 years old. We actually realised we're older than Google, which is quite a shock. If only we knew then what Google know now. We said, didn't we, it'll never take off. Yeah. So yeah, we're quite an old company for digital marketing, and then obviously you can see that Facebook and Twitter came along after that. So yeah, so we're hanging on by the skin of our teeth. Mike's going to talk a little bit more about our
Yeah, we actually said 21 years ago couldn't understand what Google's revenue model was, and then they invented AdWords, and the rest is history. So what we aim to do is, what we've discovered is the online world, so people selling information like Diet or Get Rich Quick, who are purely online, learn digital techniques really quickly because they've got all the data. So everything is online, so they understand what works, what doesn't, and why. So all the things like split testing and heat maps and all that type of thing is driven by that industry because they've got all the data and they know what converts. What people tend to forget is that the majority of people here run an offline business. I think there's one lady doing e-commerce. The rest of it effectively are offline, trying to translate this online world into their business. And that's what we aim to do. We translate, we have an understanding of what works purely online with 100% data, and then we try and use real world offline models to make sure that our clients get the best of both worlds really. And the passion has been driven by 35 years of wanting to understand what works, what doesn't in marketing. Those are some of the clients that I've worked for, or we've worked for in the past, along with, over the last 21 years, thousands of SMEs in digital marketing. One of our biggest challenges is, as a business, is the depth of understanding that we have and that we've evolved when anyone can start off, spend a couple of years looking at what's happening, what isn't, and become sort of an expert in digital marketing. So when we're talking about what works and what doesn't and why, there's 35 years worth of understanding here. So very briefly, the Moorgate Group, big full service agency, going back into the late 80s. Multi-million pound accounts. I was responsible for the first a £6 million unit trust launch on TV for Wilson Alliance. Had Middle Bank, as it was then, HSBC now, running multi-million campaigns. I basically bought a book called Ogilvy on Advertising, because David Ogilvy was the advertising guru. And my opinion was basically David Ogilvy's, because I was straight out of uni. I then bought another book, which is by two of his account managers, which is What Works, What Doesn't and Why in Advertising. So I used to apply that to everything we did, test, measure, going back even then. So I left that to join my own company with two colleagues, the Par Group PLC. Sounds very grand, but basically you can be a PLC if you issue 25% of your shares. So we just stuck £5,000 into a business and made sure that 25% of the shares were issued, and we became a PLC. Amstrad were a client dealing directly with Land and Sugar, which is an experience in itself. We ran his dealer program, so he had 4,000 dealers then, and we had to launch these huge packs to send out to all the dealers, which were personalised. And we got a phone call from dealers saying that they were wrong because there were personalised certificates in these packs. And the addresses on the outside were different to the certificates. So I had to make a phone call to the marketing manager, Sally Tyler, saying, I'm really sorry, but some of these packs are wrong. And she got this huge gulp, and she went, okay, I'll go and tell Alan. And fortunately for us, it was the post office. There was a guy in a post office distribution centre who was sticking the wrong dockets on the wrong things. So Amstrad sued the hell out of the Royal Mail, because that's what they do. We sold that business to an analytics business. So this is in 1995. I was in Florida trying to predict your propensity, or people in Florida's propensity, to buy a car. What that means is that this is sort of pretty much before data existed. So we're trying to use all the techniques that Google are using now, 20 years ago, where the only perfect data that existed really was in either Florida or Holland, which we did. So I feel I've got this, I was blessed really to be able to try and do that without data in a world where now data exists in a really plentiful manner. And also, because we're involved in neural networks in terms of predicting, that was a forerunner really to artificial intelligence, and a lot of what Google's using now is AI. So when they do things, I do generally see why. And as a result of that, the things we try to drill down to make as simple as possible for you are based on that knowledge of understanding what works. So the 3 key takeaways we've got, which we'll go to in a minute, are based on a significant depth of process and learning, if you like. AIM was a database telemarketing company. Our group, we were at the forefront of direct mail. It's always been at the measurement end. So my passion is what works, what doesn't, and why. And we're about to tell you what works, what doesn't, and why, based on that depth of understanding. AIM Internet, 21 years ago, is a long series of case studies at different points in the evolution of the online world as to what works and what doesn't and why. Because the pace of change, as I'm sure you're all aware, is so vast. What we say now definitely won't be the case in 12 months' time. You've got a window of opportunity. If you do what we say now, it'll work for you. There's no guarantee that'll happen in 12 months' time.